Live from KTTC, your weather authority, this is KTTC.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Super Tuesday. The pool for the Democratic candidates got a lot smaller the past couple of days.
With 5 candidates left to choose from, there are 2 major frontrunners. We have team coverage tonight at Biden and Sanders watch parties ahead of tonight's huge results.
But first, we have our Alex Tejada at a polling location as people get those last-second votes in ahead of the 8 p.m. close time. Alex?
Tom, Caitlin, Minnesotans are heading to the polls for a Super Tuesday primary for the first time since 1992. And as people are starting to get off of work, the various polling locations are starting to form lines. Turnout has been light all day, with only a few hundred voting at each location going into this evening. The biggest shakeup ahead of today was the announcement by Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar to drop out of the race Monday. She was leading polls in her home state. And Olmsted County election staff said it is too late to change your vote if you voted early for Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg, who also dropped out of the race. The deadline to change votes was February 24th. And if you're not sure what polling station you're supposed to be at, the polling station location finding tool app at vote.org can help. Those polls will stay open until 8 tonight. Live in Rochester, Alex Tejada, KTTC News.
Thanks, Alex. And the person to beat tonight and throughout the caucus and primary season has been Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Last night, the senator came to the land of 10,000 lakes with endorsements from some high-profile Minnesota DFLers. But is it enough to win the state tonight? Our Kamaria Bray joins us from a watch party in St. Paul. Kamaria, what are we expecting tonight?
Caitlin, I'm at the Black Stack Brewing in St. Paul, and although polls don't close until 8 tonight, we are expecting a big crowd, especially since Sanders had that rally in St. Paul yesterday. And yesterday, Sanders and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar had a Get Out the Vote concert. Sanders emphasized some of the big changes he wants to implement, such as raising pay for teachers, free college tuition, and expunging criminal records for those incarcerated by marijuana. Sanders said he is confident that he can beat Trump. Now, yesterday at the rally, I spoke to a few Sanders supporters who said they are pushing hard for him because they think that Democrats are coming together to knock him out the race because of his progressive way of thinking. Now, the watch party doesn't officially begin until 8:30, but I'll be talking to some Sanders supporters on what they think of this election. We'll have continued coverage throughout the night. Live in St. Paul, I'm Kamaria Bray, KTTC News.
All right, thank you, Kamaria. And Bernie Sanders' biggest competition tonight is former Vice President Joe Biden. Biden has gained major support in just the last 48 hours, with some former rivals now endorsing him. And our Zach Fuller is in Minneapolis at a Biden watch party as well. Zach, do supporters think that they have enough support tonight?
Well, good evening, Tom. I am standing at Elsie's up here in Minneapolis, where we are expecting a crowd of Biden supporters tonight to come out for the former vice president. Now, in the past 48 hours, like you said, he has gained a lot of support, mainly from the fact that Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg have dropped out of the race, and they are now showing support for Biden, giving him the bump that he might need if he's going to compete against Bernie Sanders. Both were moderate candidates, so this essentially paints a clear path for the moderate candidate to be Joe Biden, barring a huge Michael Bloomberg run tonight. Now, Biden starts today with only 7 delegates behind Bernie Sanders, which is a good place to be in after his tough start in the first 2 states to vote of Iowa and New Hampshire. And now, one thing to note tonight is that 34% of the Democratic delegates are going to be awarded tonight on Super Tuesday, with 14 states voting. Minnesota alone is going to be awarding 75 pledged delegates of the 1,300 that are going to be pledged. So we will keep you up to date with the latest results, both on air and on our website on kttc.com. For now, reporting live in Minneapolis, Zach Fuller, KTTC News.
All right, certainly a big night for Democrats. Thank you, Zach. And
Let's head out outdoors now to check on the weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen. Nick, it was a pretty quiet day out there. We are expecting some warmer temps to continue.
Yeah, warmer temperatures will continue. It'll be a nice night to get out to the polls as well tonight. Not much hindering our forecast for tonight. As of now, that might change late tonight and early Wednesday morning. Currently outside 35 degrees in Rochester. Those winds are out of the west at about 12 miles per hour. That's our Lewis Nano live camera. That's right along Highway 52. As we continue with those temperatures, we're still in the 40s. Austin at 41 degrees, La Crosse at 40. Then we look at Winona at 39 degrees, so those mid to upper 30s continuing as of now. Some very light drizzle starting to try to inch its way closer and closer to Mason City, dealing with a little bit of drizzle through Fairmont and portions of Redwood Falls. That's kind of the burst of energy that we'll be tracking overnight tonight for the possibility of some very light snowfall. I think the snow band will stay to the south of Rochester, mainly impacting areas south of I-90. So Mason City, you could be in the crosshairs for some light snow coming up this evening. In Rochester and most of southeast Minnesota, just some slight chances for some very light flurries by about 8, 9 to even 10 o'clock tonight. And for your almanac today, at a high temperature of 38 in Rochester. Then the warmer temperatures are here for the rest of the week, 40s and maybe even the 50s by the weekend. So we look at that and we track out all the snowfall for tonight as well. That's in your Weather Authority forecast. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you. Well, it remains to be seen what impact the end of Senator Klobuchar's campaign and subsequent Biden endorsement will have on the Democratic race for the White House.
There are also questions about the timing of the announcement and what could be next for the Minnesota senator. Our Uba Ali went looking for answers.
I am asking you to join this campaign.
That campaign started in the middle of a Minnesota snowstorm and ended Monday in Texas with a major announcement.
I believe we can do this together. And that is why today I am ending my campaign and endorsing Joe Biden for president.
I can't tell you how much Amy's endorsement, the senator's endorsement, means to me.
With Klobuchar's White House bid over, what is next for the Minnesota senator?
I think Amy Klobuchar would be an ideal vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden.
Rochester Community and Technical College history instructor Chad Israelson explained why.
Vice presidential ticket for the Democrats needs to have some diversity.
If not vice president, definitely a position in Joe Biden's cabinet.
I wouldn't be shocked at all to see her as something like Attorney General. You look at her law background and what she did prior to becoming a senator. I wouldn't be surprised potentially as a Secretary of State.
And in Dallas Monday night, Biden said while Klobuchar's bid is over, she is not done.
And she's not losing now. You're going to hear a lot from Amy Klobuchar for a long, long time.
Possibly pointing to a future seeing these couples on stage. In Rochester, Uba Ali, KTTC News.
All right, and this just in, the state of Virginia has gone to Joe Biden. And our election coverage of Super Tuesday continues.
Up next, we talk to our political analyst Chad Israelson about what's at stake tonight.
KTTC, your weather authority, with Tom Overley, Caitlin Alexander, Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen, and sports with Pat Lund. KTTC News at 6 continues.
Welcome back. This has been a hectic Democratic presidential candidate race so far, and a lot has happened to change the game for this Super Tuesday in just the past 48 hours.
Yeah, it has really been dramatic. Our longtime political analyst, Chad Israelson, is back to help decipher all of that has been happening. Let's talk about Joe Biden tonight. How significant of a night is it for Biden?
Well, it's very important. First, we consider that, he won his first ever primary just on Saturday.
Right.
So he doesn't have a track record of success, and so he needs to build on that. And right now, what's happening is the Democratic Party establishment, the moderate wing of the Democratic Party, are really coalescing around him. So we saw Buttigieg drop out, Amy Klobuchar drop out, and so now he's sort of picking up that mantle, or it's being given to him, and maybe Mike Bloomberg might argue this, but it appears right now it's a Biden versus Sanders. And so, right. Biden has to perform tonight.
And another victory for Biden with Virginia just moments ago.
Yep, came in very quickly.
Yeah.
Right, and we were speaking about his main opponent tonight, we believe to be Bernie Sanders. Sanders did take Minnesota in the primary in 2016. Many kind of are expecting a similar result tonight. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. I think it would have been neck and neck with Amy Klobuchar and Bernie Sanders had she stayed in. Now, since she's out, if you look at Minnesota's history, candidates like Bernie Sanders do well here, so it wasn't a surprise in 2016. We look up at the Iron Range and the union support and that kind of thing. Those are people then that would rally around to Bernie Sanders. We like sort of the authentic, straight-talking type of candidates here in Minnesota. So yeah, he fits the mold, definitely.
And really quickly, Elizabeth Warren, what are you thinking about her tonight?
Well, it's hard to say, really. You know, one of the things to look at is how does she do in Massachusetts? Right now, last I saw, it's going to be very close between her and Sanders. If you don't win your home state, well, that's not good at all. So how long is she going to stay in? The longer she stays in, I think the more that hurts Bernie Sanders.
And there was concern that Amy Klobuchar was not going to win Minnesota as well. So who knows? I mean, that was what they were talking about earlier.
Yeah, hopefully
you gotta win at home.
We'll find out. Chad, thank you so much. We'll be
talking
to you at 9 and 10 o'clock as well tonight. So.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Well, still ahead tonight, a driver collides with a bald eagle on a rural road. What officials did to save the majestic bird.
And later in sports tonight, highlights from Fort Myers and the Twins-Tigers game.
And we have some light snow on the way overnight tonight, so we'll track that out, and the possibility for some 50s in your forecast as well. That's all on your Weather Authority forecast right after this.
It might not have been the question on the top of your mind today, but ever wonder what a 20-foot-long colon looks like?
Yeah, Mayo Clinic Health System in Albert Lea put an inflatable one on display tonight. It is in honor of National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, an effort to help educate people and reduce some of the fear that is associated with getting screened for colorectal cancer. The inflatable colon shows some of the things that doctors typically see during a colonoscopy, such as a normal-looking colon and polyps, which might indicate cancer. Colorectal cancer, by the way, is the third most common cancer in the state of Minnesota, impacting 1 in 20 people. So eating a healthy diet with adequate fiber is a good way to protect your colon.
Avoiding some of the things that we know in our lifestyle that are colon cancer risks, such as smoking, heavy alcohol use, being overweight, not exercising, and even diets that are very heavy in red meats is also thought to be a cancer risk.
Doctors recommend starting to get to those colonoscopies between the ages of 45 and 50. Well, a woman who was driving along when a bald eagle flew into the grill of her truck, the rescue, all caught on camera.
Vinnie Lowry spoke with the driver and rescuers about saving the majestic bird.
Usually up here, you deal with deer, occasional livestock hits with cars, but it's my first time with a bald eagle.
Just outside of Lawler in Chickasaw County, Stephanie Brunson was driving when a bald eagle took flight.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, it was like, poof. I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
Brunson could no longer see the eagle, assuming she killed it. Brunson drove about a mile with the eagle in the grill, only discovering it when she stopped to check for damage.
And I got out and I was walking around the truck and I was like, oh my God, he's in the grill.
Chickasaw County Deputy Sheriff Jordan Ganson was the first to respond.
I knew that I would not really know how to handle this the best way, so I asked other officers to respond and help me make the best decision I could with the situation at hand.
Deputy Ryan Schauber, who's been with the Sheriff's Office for more than a decade, says he hasn't experienced anything like this.
They're wild animals, so she was thankful that we were there to help her get this thing out there as safely as possible.
In the video, Ganson is seen helping Iowa DNR's Mark Waterlander. Ganson trying to control the head of the eagle.
It was trying to protect itself, so we were just trying to make sure we didn't hurt it or hurt one of its wings in the process. It seemed like it was in good shape for being hit by a car, so we were just trying to make sure we didn't cause any more damage than necessary. We're able to get the grill moved a little bit, and when Jordan had the head controlled, so it kind of went with us, able to pull it right out.
The eagle had a mate nearby, and both flew away together.
Wintry conditions make their way back into the forecast through the overnight hours tonight, mainly impacting northeast Iowa. So we'll be tracking out some light snowfall possible for tonight. We will be clearing out for or at least early Wednesday morning. So the Wednesday morning commute should be okay for many of us. And then the 50s right around the corner as well, potentially for the upcoming weekend. As we look outside this evening so far in Rochester, Louis Sonato live camera, pretty quiet conditions, 35 degrees in Rochester. Those winds out of the west at about 12 miles per hour. As we check in on satellite and radar, we do have some very light sprinkles potentially down to the south-southwest of Mason City. Our main batch of energy, though, off to our west, still moving through the eastern portion of South Dakota. This batch right along here will be where we're looking at for the chances for some very light snowfall. Notice the track of this, though, keeping most of the precipitation to the south and to the southwest of Rochester and most of southeast Minnesota. I do think Mason City will be in the crosshairs for some light snowfall, potentially upwards of about an inch of snow. Likely overnight tonight. So let's track everything out and time it out. Futurecast by about 8 o'clock tonight. Very light snow. Notice how narrow a band of snowfall we're potentially looking at coming up for tonight. Again, mainly in northeast Iowa, southeast Minnesota, I do think here in Rochester, and kind of off to the east a little bit of Rochester. Potentially some light flurries tonight, but notice mainly the snowfall staying right along Highway 18 through Algona, through portions of Mason City, down near Decorah as well. So mainly south of I-90, we'll feel the force of some wintry type of conditions tonight. Snowfall accumulations will be minor. It's in and out quickly as well. Starting to look at those snowfall chances by about 9 o'clock tonight. Then we're quiet by about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow morning we wake up, should be smooth sailing on the roadway. So even through Mason City, through Algona, through northeast Iowa, should be okay for the morning commute tomorrow. If you have to head anywhere for your Wednesday. Temperatures then rebound for tomorrow. We're back into the mid-30s by the time we hit the late lunch hour by 1 o'clock. High temperatures should reach close to about 40 degrees. We have another wave of energy then late Wednesday into your Thursday, but temperatures will stay above freezing overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Maybe some minor mixing to the north right along the Mississippi River Valley through portions of Red Wing, through Lake City, and maybe even Winona. But for the most part, a cold rain early on in the morning on Thursday. It could run into some slick spots early Thursday morning, but for the most part, that precipitation will fall as rain. So as we track things out for tonight, main area that will be impacted will be south of I-90. Looking at accumulations about a ½ inch to potentially an inch in some areas. I think Mason City get close to about an inch to maybe even an inch and a quarter for tonight. Your forecast then 26 degrees for that overnight low tonight, to those chances for snowfall up to around an inch south of I-90. 40 for the high tomorrow. We'll have some clearing skies and that chance for a little bit of a rain snow mix late into Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. 40s continue Thursday, Friday, and then the 50s. I think we could squeeze out 2 50-degree days this upcoming weekend, both Saturday and on Sunday.
Meantime, today's beautiful weather, I hope, entice people to get out and vote and head to the polls, because sometimes if you have bad weather, you know, people
that can be a major factor.
Stay home. So thank you very much. Well, the Twins hosted the Tigers today in Fort Myers. Highlights are coming up.
And the section tournaments continue in boys basketball tonight. A pair of Rochester teams will meet in about an hour and a half. Back in a moment.
Yes, it was a spectacular night for section boys basketball last night at the Mayo Civic Center as the semifinals are set in Class AA. Top-seeded Caledonia will meet the upset-minded 13th-seeded Dover Yoda Eagles, who knocked off 5th-seeded St. Charles, and 3rd-seeded Stewartville faces 10th-seeded Pine Island, who we all know upset the 4th-ranked team in the state last night, the Lake City Tigers. 3A and 4A take to the hardwood later tonight here in Rochester. The 3rd-seeded Century Panthers host 6th-seed John Marshall. The 18-8 Panthers defeated the 11-15 Rockets twice during the regular season, 53-49 on January 10th and 59-44 on February 18th. Century is 13-4 since the new year. JM is 4-10 since January 24th. 2nd-seeded Mayo will host 7th-seeded Northfield. Both games tip at 8 o'clock tonight. The Austin Packers are the top seed in the Section 1 3A tourney. The 21-5 Packers host 3 and 23. The Red Wing Wingers, Austin won both games during the regular season, 72-51, 60-46. The Packers are 10-2 over the last 12 games. Red Wing has just one victory since December 19th. Austin has won 6 of the last 8 section championships, including 3 in a row. The 2 seed in the tournament are the Albert Lee Tigers. They split with the Packers this year, losing most recently last Friday 41-40. The Tigers host Faribault. Simley travels to Winona, and the Byron Bears play host to Cassett-Manitouville. All games tip off at 8 o'clock tonight. To Fort Myers, spring training baseball. The Detroit Tigers visiting the Twins. Bottom of the 5th, Marwin Gonzalez gives Minnesota the 3-0 lead with this solo jack to right center, just getting over the wall. To the bottom of the 7th, the Twins add to their 3-1 lead when the big fella, Miguel Sano, puts a charge into this ball that lands deep in center field for a solo jack. as Minnesota defeats the Tigers by the 5-1 final score. State hockey begins tomorrow with Class A. Class AA is on Thursday, semis on Friday, and the championships on Saturday.
And that'll be at the Xcel Energy
Xcel
Center?
Energy Center. It's a busy place. State wrestling last week, state hockey this week.
All right, thank you, Pat. We'll be back in a moment.
As we go to break, here's what you're reading online. Before we get to a final fun story for you during this newscast, we did just get an update into our newsroom that probably won't surprise many people. Senator Bernie Sanders has won his home state of Vermont. So we have Joe Biden already claiming Virginia, and Bernie Sanders has claimed Vermont.
Results are already coming in.
Blue Bell has a new treat for your sweet tooth.
It's called Cookie Dough Overload. It debuted in stores today. The ice cream is vanilla-based with a little brown sugar. On top of that, there's a chocolate chip, peanut butter, and fudge cookie dough. The product is available in half-gallon and pint sizes. We love doing food-related kickers because
we certainly do.
The dinner hour, and we're all hungry, you know? So, weather-wise, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful conditions, at least temperature-wise the next several days. We'll deal with some wintry conditions late tonight with some light snow, mainly south of I-90 here in Rochester. We'll deal with some flurries, maybe a dusting in some isolated areas in southeast Minnesota, mainly northeast Iowa, dealing with the snowfall. And then those temperatures beautiful as we head towards the weekend. Mid to lower 50s, both Saturday and Sunday.
2 days in a row in the 50s, potentially.
Our Super Tuesday coverage continues throughout the evening.
We will see you back here at 10.